Hey, brothers and sisters, Aaron Clark here, continuing in our Killing the Canker Worm of Marriage series. This week I'm going to talk to you about listening. And that might seem so simplistic, but our failure to resolve conflict reveals to us that it's not as simple as just closing our mouth while the other person is talking. And so there are some things that we need to learn how to put aside when we're talking. And you will see through me explaining these things to you that it really isn't just as simple as listening to someone talk or being quiet while they're talking. So, number one is ideals. We need to learn how to put our ideals to the side. Well, what do I mean by ideals? Well, when I was growing up, you're bringing an ideal into a situation. Well, my mama didn't, you're bringing an ideal. Well, when I was going to church, so it could be religious, it could be economic, it could be family, it could be lifestyle, it could be a whole lot of different ideals. And when we become idealistic in our conversations, it's going to be very difficult to get through those conversations because you're holding on to an ideal. And you're married now. And it's time for compromise. It's time for letting some things go or learning how to enhance marriage with ideals rather than destroy them with ideals. The other thing we need to put aside is our opinions. How much needs to be said about that? If it's not a fact, it's an opinion, and it's not worth the air coming out of your mouth when you speaking it. I'm talking about not worth the trouble when it's just an opinion. So first, we have to allow for it, but at the same time, if it's not time for you to talk, then put your opinion to the side and listen. The third thing would be the pain, man. Pain can throw a conversation off so bad because with the pain is the strife. And when you come into a conversation and you've been hurt, I'm gonna give you the analogy that really opened my eyes up. And this is kind of funny, but it's very telling as to how we operate in pain. There was a boy, and he was in a pool of water, and he was drowning. And so people were trying to make their way to the boy in the pool, and they were screaming at him and telling him things at the same time. But of course, the boy doesn't is going down, and the water is coming into his lungs. It's pain, that water over your head, being overwhelmed, being out of control. And no matter what the people were saying, he couldn't hear them. The pain was too great. The fear was too great. And people came to try to help him. And of course, if you ever been drowning or tried to save someone who was drowning, he fought him. He was kicking and screaming. And finally, somebody got a hold of this boy and grabbed him and stood him up. The water only came up to his chest. And he was so dumbfounded when he looked around and realized, wow, all I had to do was stand up. Well, marriage is the same way. I don't care where your marriage is right now. You can get your feet up under you, no matter how much you feel like you're drowning, no matter how much water you feel like you got in your lungs. If you're listening to me right now, if your spouse is still willing to work it out, and maybe even if they're not willing to work it out, they're just so mad and they're saying, I'm done. I've seen some very extreme cases, even separation, even divorce. Learn the things that I've learned that I'm sharing with you and come back together and be renewed. It is just a matter of consciously understanding that you can get your feet up under you. You can get your head above water. This does not have to kill you. It doesn't. You need to listen to the counsel of wise people. And for you is consciously to take in this fact right here. You're not going to die. You've been hurt. Yeah, you've been hurt. But you can get your feet up under you and you can get your head above water and you can get to a place where you are happy again. And so coming into a conflict, you have to learn how to put your pain to the side. I'm not saying forget about your pain. I'm not saying ignore your pain. I'm not saying pretend your pain isn't there. I'm saying when you're trying to resolve a conflict and you're trying to listen, the pain works like this because it brings in that strife. They're talking to you, and you got a whole nother conversation going on inside your head. I know you ain't getting ready to go there. And if you've been in marriage, I've been married 24 years, so um, all of those 24 years haven't been happy. So uh, you know that you can have that conversation, those voices, that argument. That's what we call strife. And you don't want to have strife in your heart. So you have to learn how to put your pain to the side, and you have to find the attack on the pain. And that's what we're going to get to. That's going to be closer towards the end of the 8 weeks, is how do we deal with that pain, man? So the strife, ignoring that strife, and listening with the intention of addressing an issue that's being brought to you. We cannot allow our pain to keep impeding our conversations. If we get into conversations and my wife comes to me and she just wants to talk to me about how infrequently I cut the grass, but I'm still hurt about what she did to me in the ninth grade. And no matter what we're talking about, whether it's cutting the grass or whether it's dealing with in-laws or whatever it is, every time she opens up her mouth to talk to me about something, some way or another, she knows that I'm going to bring up what she did in the ninth grade because I'm still hurt. That, my friends, is destructive to a marriage. And that's unfaithful. That's not dependable. When she can't depend on entering into a conversation with me and me listening to her, but that every time I'm just going to railroad the conversation with some issue or pain in my heart, then pretty soon she's going to stop wanting to talk to me at all. She's going to be frustrated, and she'll find somebody else to talk to. And that's when all that trouble starts up. So for this week, I just want you to think about that. I want you to take that in. I want you to practice it. This is not something you're going to get in 8 weeks. So on the very last session of this in the video, I'm going to direct you to a website where you'll be able to get all of this in a nice little document, and you can print it off and sit down and work through it. For me and my wife, just to start peeling away some of this, it took a while. And I don't want to discourage you, but I tell you what, I'm glad I took a couple of few intense years of working through some conflict and falling and getting back up and counseling and all kind of stuff. And sometimes feeling like we just right back where we were 5 years ago, that kind of stuff. But when we started to change our habits and change our thinking, it changed our responses. And when our responses to each other changed and became consistent, it's like I said last week, that trust came back. And when we could trust each other with our hearts, that intimacy started to grow again. And that's where you want to go. So this week we're talking about what you got to put aside when you're talking. Put that mess to the side for a minute and listen to your spouse. Hear them all the way out. If something comes to your mind, write it down or take a mental note and say, I got to get back to this. This is not what we came here to talk about. We'll get back to it on another time. So till next week, God bless you. Next week is going to be really fun as well. I will talk to you then.